Okay. Right. Now I want us to move now to how society, how different sectors are connected together to become one economy. What is the role of your company in the South African economy? Can anybody take us through that? Just use your company as an example and give us a description of how it fits into the South African economy. Because each individual is part of one South African economy. But how do these individuals, different entities, fit together to make this economy? Anyone would like to give a shot to that?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to think this is what my logical thinking is.
Okay.
So I work for a bank.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that how it feeds in the economy is that we need citizens or people to invest their money,
Yes.
so that that investment can grow, and with that growth be able to
Okay.
spend and move or continue to invest or
Okay.
keep the markets up, because as long as we have those numbers, I suppose that
Okay.
grow the inflation. I mean, not the inflation will come in.
That's the role of from a perspective of an organization. Okay. Anyone else, not from a financial institution?
Mine falls under the mining industry.
Okay.
So what my company is, we actually provide explosives, not just to the local market of mining for South Africa, but also abroad, globally, to other countries. And there are benefits. We've had a substantial increase in the past 3-4 months of growth, and you see it as we fall part of the ACI group. And on the stock exchange, they've climbed at 20 cents on the actual shares. So, but also when we have the strikes, for example, Marikana and Longman was a big impact on us, because we actually had trucks and explosives and deliveries there every single day, or at least once, twice a week, and that production brought that entire section of that business to a halt, just after that tragedy. So you can feel it, you see it happening, you understand it. If there's a strike here, this is going to affect your sales, this is going to affect the company in terms of what's going to happen next, because those people aren't working. So what does the organization do? Do we restructure our resources for the meantime until that mining comes back, or do we have to look somewhere else, somewhere in another part of the world to get business? So to keep the company running, and two, to also make sure that everyone else has a job.
Yeah. Are the strikes over now in the mining sector?
No,
No.
not really.
They will never be.
They will never be over. What impact do they have in the economy? Anyone with a different view?
They
Some
stop
productivity.
production, actually, because a variety of companies is in the mining industries, from contractors to construction businesses, all of them. And if some of them stop, they stop the whole mining industry, because you can't even go through the gates to go do your work that's separate from theirs, because they're striking at the gate. So you can't go in on the mine and do the work so that you can pay your people. So your labor cost will go through the roof, because you can't pay your people. And then if your normal pay date is on the 1st of the month, and you can only, if you're lucky, pay on the 15th, then all of those people are in debt. And yeah, they don't have money, so actually they stop the production of everything, and even the people that has to import and export, that stops, because there's nothing to export. Understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, the mine strikes are driven by senior management, and the reason for them driving the strikes is so that they increase the value of product mined. So they shut down the mine, products price skyrockets. When they've agreed, they reopen a portion of the mine, they start mining again, then they're selling the product for a higher premium with a less amount of staff, and so the cycle continues. That's just how I see it.
So who is benefiting from that cycle?
Makes sense.
From what you are saying is the mining bosses are
The
benefiting.
investors in Europe.
The investors.
in the West.
Yeah.
Of course they're benefiting, and it's driving their economy, and it's reducing our economy. Because our people are getting poorer,
And then this-
but Europeans or Americans or whoever owns the mine is getting wealthier based on what the current situation is.
I also think sometimes the unions also mislead the actual the people they're supposed to be representing. So they're taking the people that they're supposed to be representing for granted. And some of us understand they're not. The majority of them are unskilled and semi-skilled, so they don't have the education sometimes to think for themselves and understand it. So they'll just follow, and unfortunately, it just leads them into they're actually running themselves into more misfortune because they're actually being taken advantage of. Whereas I think the Longman thing was exactly, it was two unions having a power struggle on who's going to have that the mining as its full representative for that, for the union.
What's it? The-
And mining is very
the-
important to South Africa.
Yeah,
You know.
It's a huge resource.
the South African SARS, I think, or let me put it this way, mining I think contributes, to a large extent on the
Thanks.
tax at SARS, And
Mhm.
obviously, if the strikes and all that, especially if they prolong for too long, the government loses a lot of income, which eventually hampers, service delivery to
Yes,
various,
that's true. Mhm.
various to the society in large, which comes back to economics also, and we just have to find a way of also, as a country, moving the dependence of the country's, the government's income from mining, by maybe investing in technology or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. South Africa is one of the few countries in the world that has got a strike season, where totally, people shut down and say, we are not working. And from your views, I think you are all agreeing that the impact is quite severe on the economy. So what then should be done? Should people not be allowed to exercise their right to strike?
No, they must be allowed. Because you have to take history into consideration and understand the reasons why people would strike. As much as we can have various reasons, but people that are on the ground who strike, they are struggling with issues of putting bread on the table, giving their children, good education, like any citizen of a country, has a right to, and if the salaries, for an example, are below the what is it called, the daily daily
The poverty datum line.
yes, yeah, then it can be right, and also if you compare that what the people at the bottom of the scale earn compared to people at the top. Yes, people at the top have studied, have worked hard, but somewhere, somehow, a balance must be, achieved. I'm not saying a rock driller, for an example, must earn the same salary that an executive earns, but there must be balance.
Okay.
So they have a right to strike.
It's not a South African phenomenon. It's
Yeah.
out there globally.
It's
We
not-
had the 2008-2009 recession. What was happening to you are in the banks. What was happening to the bonuses of these major big banking groups? The guys were pocketing huge bonuses,
Still more.
What is
Private
it?
jet, 27 million this year. 27, I think, 27 or 33.
I know one of the marketing people. that
We
is
have the same
1.2
problems,
is about
right?
it.
But we don't get to see a strike season in the US, a strike season in China.
That's probably why you asked the question in the beginning. You can decide where Africa should go to.
Yeah.
Currently, I think you could probably say that we're sitting between democracy. We're trying to be like the West in democracy terms. On the other hand, our democracy is so great that it actually leaves a lot of loopholes for employees. And actually, it should be a little bit more. For me, the balance would be probably democracy, yes, so that people aren't degraded like in China. And the other half is we should have some communist rule. So,
But now the piece that has got you smiling, what is it that you don't agree with? There must be something there that triggered you. Just share your thoughts with us.
No, I don't agree actually. In some point it does make sense.
Okay.
I mean, you know, we have all these rights.
Mhm.
So I think if maybe in a way there were implementations, or maybe if, how can I put it?
So,
I'm trying to find a nice way to put it so that we can all understand. I think we should have certain limited rights.
okay.
Like you said, you don't find strikes in other places. But with us, if today we come here and decide, "Oh, we don't want to do this," somebody just says strike, then we go ahead, you know. And it comes back to that thing, we're not all educated. And if you can check, well, the lower class is the one,
It starts with strike.
yes, you know, because they're not, like we said, how you use your information. As Rory said, that if he was more into economy, then he would think in an economic way. But if he was into politics, so we should just
Okay. Try and find
we
some
want
balance,
an
Yes.
international
some
balance.
yes. If you all understood, then it would be.
interesting.
Anyway, when I say communist rule, I just want to be clear. I don't mean government must be communist. I would like business to be a bit more communist. And if you've done incorrect stuff, or if you, and this is just my opinion, that if you've done something that's incorrect, the company should have, and I know everyone's going to argue with me, yeah, but the company should have a right to just fire people. In the USA, and they do have labor laws, okay, but in the USA, it works like that. And they're quite a powerful economy, because the person that goes to that office knows, hey buddy, if I screw up today, I'm out that door.
With us, Rory hires the cousin, and if you have to fire your cousin, then the whole family is gonna turn your back. I mean, their back against you. So
I
that's the
understand
thing
that,
with
but
us.
It shouldn't be. It
Yeah.
should be, if you come to work, you work your ass off, and if
Or
you
you
did
go.
that, the economy would be great. And if you don't, goodbye, I found someone that does. The GE rule, I don't know if you know who GE is. Anyone? General Electric.
General Electric, yeah.
Mhm.
The GE rule says they got a 70-20-10 policy.
Mm.
Do you know what that policy is?
Yeah, no, it is.
70%, right, are average performance. So people they'll keep for next year. 20% are your top performer. The other 10% are the
Let's go.
You get rid
are
of
the fat. They must kiss.
the deadwood.
And every year they follow the same rule. 70-20-10.
Yeah, but that's all. Well, I agree and disagree there, because we also, I look at our company, and also you can't just always follow just because the Western or the UK or they're going that particular direction. Africa is also, South Africa is a brand new country since '94, and it's young, and at the same time it's customized. You have to a lot of businesses have to customize, because we've got so many diverse cultures all at once, and all these different histories, and all these different people, and the way of their thinking is different. So, you know, as a country also, we have to customize to what's the best solution we can find out from what we have, what our resources are.
But isn't it that, on the other hand, to ensure economic stability, I'm just thinking about what happened in Japan.
Mhm.
after in the 50s or so, after the war, in Japan. Japan at one stage was in the top 5, of the countries that the economy is doing well. And if you study, they took the education and the upskilling of their society, quite seriously. It's a very small country compared to most superpower, to the superpowers,
Yeah, it is.
And yet, even now, they are not doing that bad. They're still doing, okay economically.
They're still the third largest.
Yeah, but but the emphasis was on that. They really took education and skills, of their people quite seriously. And in a country like South Africa, one of the major causes that leads to all these challenges that we've been talking about is that we've got a history where people were deprived of education. And if the current government also can take that quite seriously, and everybody and corporates, companies, to have that common goal, of upskilling people, I think that can go a long way in creating stability, as far as strikes are concerned. In the West, in the US, and let me say in the West, you've got less strikes because most people are educated, and if you check the unemployment rate in South Africa in the US compared to South Africa, it's 2 worlds apart. People have education; they are able to get jobs.
Can I make a comment about that?
Yeah.
Or maybe a question?
Let's allow you. Yeah.
Those senior executives in most of the companies, are they educated or not? They're
Where?
educated.
Here
Yeah.
in South Africa.
Yeah.
Well,
They're educated. They
Yeah.
have HR personnel, but now the problem is why employees should remind them each and every year that we need increase, we need bonuses, we need this, because they don't follow the rules and the regulation of labor of labor law. They know, they are educated, they know, and they just pretend like they don't know what's happening. Because why, if you are my boss, okay, you know that according to the HR policies, there is something called bonus, there is something called reward, there is something called promotion, stuff like that. So now, why is it that you need to be reminded all the time that no, this is time for you to increase my salary, this is time for you to do this? You see, that's where they should start if you talk about education.
I like that idea. The previous company I worked at, actually, the managing director and financial director went to the employees as a company, not related to the unions, and actually said to them, okay guys, we will agree with you that if you don't join a union, okay, we will increase your salary by a percentage, the same percent every year going forward, no matter what.
Yeah.
And we signed an agreement.
Yeah.
And they actually signed the agreement. They
Look what is happening with Pick It Up, those people for Pick It Up. They did strike last year. They went into agreement.
Eh?
So now when you enter into agreement, what did you talk about? Or do you want to solve especially the problem, or you want to have a solution for a long term? You see, that's a problem. So when they try to solve a problem, they solve it for just a short term period.
So basically, we are saying something in the system is not working right in South Africa. There is something that has to be done, some things that have to be changed. There is some things that are good, there is some that is bad. Now with education, the one that you raised, I agree with you, but on the other hand, I wanted to point out that when you educate people, when you train people, you need to grow the economy at the same time so that to absorb those people. Otherwise, you create another dilemma.
Exactly.
Now, what I want us to talk about now is what we have been talking about. We just want to show it now in a small little picture, how everyone is connected together. Okay. How we then make this thing is a little bit small, eh? Okay. It's a little bit small, so I think I should draw my boxes to be small also.
Is there another color pen?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Could you use like darker color so you can see at the back?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna use about all the colors that are here. So okay, I'm gonna start here and say these are households. Households are also consumers, right? How are these two connected together?
Well, without either one, we wouldn't have society. They're connected by the firm needs to find out what the consumer's needs is
Okay.
and
So,
produce what the consumer needs to make profit. If firms is meaning firms as in companies.
Okay. Any other view?
Also, the people in the households, the actual people, need to get jobs so they can be productive.
Okay.
Uh,
So let's look at it this way and say, okay, so firms, they need the labor from the households. And households, what do they need from the firms?
salaries.
Salaries? What else?
Benefits.
Money. What else?
Products.
Products. Okay.
So firms need to establish the needs of the consumer.
Okay.
Mm.
But what do we have here? So what are firms doing? Firms are turning factors of production into output. Okay. I need another box. Which color? Okay, green. I may call this factor market. Okay. So what is happening here is labor is coming this way. We call this what? Okay. And then what is flowing this way? From the firms to the, say it, products.
Products.
Mm.
Okay. So let's have products. Which color do I have? Use this. Let's say. But are you buying them direct from the firm?
No, not
Where are you buying them from?
Distributor.
Distributors, retailers.
Dealerships.
So this flows there. Okay. So what we have here is factors of production. It's not only labor, right? Because households are also the owners of these firms are actually the consumers, right? Actually the households. Is it so? Okay. Now, you then said that households need salaries from the firms. So there is an arrow going the opposite direction, right? Going the opposite direction. So it comes here. Oh, you could also have a broker there, the labor broker there. Where shall we put them? Somewhere here.
Stroll them off the board.
Decided like this.
The labor brokers. Now what flows from here to the firms? Now we are talking about money. Now this was, the green one was in terms of factors of production. Now we have said that this is salaries. Now from here, what flows to the firms
Well,
in terms of money?
from Firstly, labour would go that way and money would go that way.
Money comes this way.
Purchases.
Purchases. And purchases become what?
More purchases.
Right.
Profits.
So this is income to the firm. It's income, huh? Okay.
Sales.
But these are not the only players in the economy. Who else is there?
As far as in your government, your taxes, your levies.
Government. Okay.
it's
So let's
charging the firm.
let's talk of let's take government. Let's put the government somewhere here. Government. Now, how is government related to these three? To these four? To these two, sorry. How is government related to the firms?
Labor laws,
Hmm?
Tax,
labor laws,
Tax. Right?
laws,
So tax, in terms of money, it is flowing from here to there.
And from that side.
Oh, and from that side. Eh?
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
You might want to put e-toll there on top.
Yeah.
and you need to have two arrows from both left
That's
and
the
right
coming in
blocks.
the middle.
And what else? What about here?
Yeah, you
It
need
does
arrows.
government participate there?
Yeah.
How?
Taxes, levies.
I'm talking now in terms of the goods market.
Tax, the goods market.
What?
VAT,
Tax, VAT, value added tax.
value added tax.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can incorporate that there. Does government get any goods in?
Yes.
Does government-
Yes, they do.
They've got their vendors
Okay.
that supply them 200 rand classes.
Sorry?
Services.
200 rents classes.
So government also employs people, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get it from there and say that way. And
Yeah, it's definitely with the vendor side, especially they get to buy all their admin, their paper, to help run their subsidiaries or their not subsidiaries, their little
oh,
ministries.
sorry.
water ones
This
or-
arrow
It's
would
very funny
be
though. Can you only
sorry.
see arrows going one way?
Yeah.
sorry. What have we said? Okay, so this is labor coming into government, huh?
Yes.
And then government also, what does it do? It rewards this labor. Okay, so you've got an opposite arrow in terms of money.
Money.
Okay. So in terms of money, and then that way. Yeah. You can actually throw the arrow straight to the consumer, right? It's still the same thing. Like what I'm saying is, like this arrow in terms of paying government salaries can go up. But we're saying, okay, everything is being done through the brokers for now, so government will pay this way, and then it goes to the consumer. Are we all in the same picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Which brokers are you referring to? Labor brokers.
Yeah.
Or
Government
employment
uses
agencies.
labor brokers.
No, I'm just, this is just a hypothetical
Government
example.
themselves.
But what I was saying was, this arrow could go straight to the household. You see that? But we are using an intermediary there in the goods market, in the factor market, to say, okay, you need a job here, you come here, then they send you here. So when you pay this guy, then it comes this way. Because that's what happens, I mean. Now, who else is absent there? I think the group absent there is Sasha.
The banks.
Thanks.
The banks. The banks. Okay. Here we've got one arrow. Shouldn't we have two here? I'm looking at this one.
Regarding government, towards consumers, healthcare. What about healthcare?
Say
What healthcare?
Healthcare.
Towards consumers, does not the government does provide healthcare, so that's a benefit to consumers.
Healthcare.
That was more of a joke than anything else.
Healthcare. Okay, what's happening? Government is providing goods. The government is buying drugs. And then,
Cars.
Okay.
ambulances.
so goods are flowing this way. Medicines, payments for those medicines is flowing that way. So when we refer to everything that government buys, we won't separate and say this is medicine or this is what. We'll just lump everything together.
But now, government does not benefit from medicine. Consumers do.
But the government
No, they
supplies
do.
services and stuff to the consumer, so there should be an arrow towards the consumer too,
Yes.
Mhm.
and to the firms actually.
That's what. That's one arrow that is missing. So there should be an arrow coming this way, and another one going that way. Okay. Right. Okay.
Will you have an arrow that for the role that the government plays in? I don't think it's quantified that much in monetary value, but the role that they play in creating a conducive environment for like what I think it's Rory idea, you know.
Okay.
You
Sorry?
know, to make
Come
the,
again.
I was saying, shouldn't there be an arrow between the government to the firms? And maybe to, well, let me say to the firms, where the role that the government plays in creating a conducive environment for investments, whether foreign direct investments or local investments, whatever.
Okay. There is, but what we are trying to do here, we're trying to simplify this, you know. Otherwise, this picture will get to be. So we want to simplify it into two things. One, the flow of product. Two, the flow of money. You know. Okay. The flow of product and factors of production, and the flow of money. Now I have different color pens here. Can somebody put an arrow of from the banks, how the banks are connected to?
To all of them.
Yeah.
So all of them.
Yeah, you can draw just one arrow from your understanding how it's connected. Somebody else will pick another arrow and just explain to us what that arrow is.
I'll go first, guys.
Okay, no problem.
Now remember, these households, these households that we are talking about are the consumers. It's you and me. You, all of us together. This is the households that we are talking about.
Just have to draw one arrow, eh?
Yeah, and explain to us.
Do I draw it back too? Anyway, the arrow from the banks to the firm is loans, or money lent to the firms to buy infrastructure or machinery or whatever the case is. And the arrow back from the firm to the banks would be the interest and the repayments.
Okay. So you can put this a different, yeah. Okay. Somebody else?
Banks should actually sit here by themselves.
Banks should sit up there. Somebody else? Okay. Please just, as soon as somebody finishes putting up an arrow, the next person just go on and put your arrow and explain to us. And then as a group, if you feel the arrow is not correct, please let that person not sit down. Okay, what's happening with that arrow, sir?
Loan.
Oh, loans.
Consumers,
Okay.
yeah.
And I forgot to explain something on mine as well. There's one more thing. Investments.
Yeah.
So future investments, to earn interest off investments. So firms would give banks money to invest for them in long-term or short-term loans.
Yeah. So you've got savings and investments also going that way. It's arrows everywhere.
Banks loan to the government
Yeah, it's to the government.
and interest.
And they obviously have to pay making
Sorry,
money.
Mary, and let's have one class.
Banks to government, government to banks.
Banks to government.
Yeah.
What is moving from banks to government?
So firstly, so South African Reserve Bank is a government-owned bank. They control all the money in the country, so they have to supply banks with money, so that banks can supply consumers, farms, everybody else, so they can spend the money, and the banks then how it gives it back to the government is through its interests earned or inflation, I suppose,
Taxes.
inflation, taxes.
Okay. Okay, that's one spin of it. There is also another angle on the banks and government.
Has the government ever loaned money from local banks apart from IMF and World Bank?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
SAA, like parastatals, I remember SAA now just got a guarantee for 5 billion, which which is money that can be accessed from the bank, and for that enterprise to utilize it, and government stands as a guarantee. So I'd like to think that's money that that entity loans from the bank, and hopefully makes profit so that they can repay that money back.
Can we
But
see
if-
it as
but-
an arrow?
But if they cannot pay it back, then obviously the government, the guarantee is there for that reason,
Okay.
that if they cannot pay it, the government obviously has to pay it back.
So government does borrow from the banks.
Yes, I'd like to think so.
Does government save?
Yeah.
Does government have a bank account?
Yes.
Yes.
With FNB.
I think also the interest rates.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they have bank accounts.
Alright.
Does the government invest in their own bank, the South African Reserve Bank?
Yeah.
Because they
The Reserve Bank is-
control.
No, but the
Do they
Reserve
invest
Bank is
in-
not. They don't. It's not a bank in a similar way like
Yes, no, absolutely.
I remember
so
when-
they control the money of them. Country.
policies and.
Yeah, absolutely, and they'll manufacture it, distribute it, destroy old money, make new money.
Okay.
Okay?
I want to pose a question here. The word government there, who is included there?
Ministers, president.
Somebody says ministers, president. We've just used the word there. What is it encompassing?
Isn't it regulation of monetary
No,
policies?
no. This is government. What would we mean? What do we mean? Is it the Joburg City Council, the Metro, or is it the
It's
provincial legislature?
Municipalities, provincial, national.
Yes, that's what we mean. These are the spheres of government, right? And they do have bank accounts with
With banks, yeah.
yeah. I mean, the last time was it which one was it? Was it the Joburg Metro? It was defrauded of license fees. Some
Scam.
yes, some scam of what was it about? Of a letter to say the bank account has been new banking details, and money was and license fees were put into that account, and an amount of about 1.5 billion somewhere there was then withdrawn.
But isn't all those things fall under the arrow that Sasha
Yeah.
drew?
Yeah. So we have banks, we have government saving, and then government also borrowing.
But another angle when we're talking about the central bank, sorry, the Reserve Bank, that determines interest rates, which also to a large extent determine how consumers spend.
Yes, that's true.
Because I mean, when interest rates are down, for instance, you look at your bonds. When people buy houses, when the interest rates are low, more people are likely to buy bonds, depending on their.
But then the price of the houses.
Say again.
Disposable income.
Yeah, disposable income. When the interest rates are down, people have a little bit of extra cash left, because now if your interest rate on a bond was 4,000, you're paying 4,000 rand, and now it's come down, you're paying now 3,700. You've got that 300 rands now spare in your in money that you have, that you could either use to buy groceries or whatever. So I think that also circulates, or it sort of encourages more spending. It's the same likewise if the interest rates go up, then the reverse would happen.
Yeah. For now, we'll park that discussion for when we talk about inflation, because that's, yeah. For now, I need an arrow, because I see there is, yeah, I need some arrows there. Some arrows. Nontombi, you're in front. Between Nontombi and Mary, and somebody put an arrow there. You guys in front. That's the advantage.
I'm not sure it's right.
Sorry?
I'm not sure it's going to be right.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Do we have all the arrows there?
No.
Actually, I'm not sure it's right. From the firm's neck to the bank as salaries. Ne? And from the banks, it's going to go here to the consumers. Obviously, they have to pay the consumers' household salaries to the bank. Then, from the households, it can be in forms of investments or paying for bonds and whatever. Then I'm not sure how it's going to link to the firm. Or maybe you've asked for a loan or an advance, then you have to pay back the firm.
I thought maybe you're going
It
straight
doesn't
to
have
the
to.
goods.
But based on salaries, the firm would be connected to the government in terms of tax.
Yeah.
Income tax, whatever.
Okay.
SARS or whatever. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Next.
Or you go straight to the goods and buy it.
There's still an arrow. I mean, I'm looking at banks there. Are banks not buying anything from the goods market? Are banks not buying anything from Pick and Pay?
Yeah.
No, I don't know so much about Pick and Pay, but they buy from us.
Yeah, the idea is there. Mary, let's have that.
I'm still making sure that like Pick and Pay banks. So,
An arrow there.
so that would does affect,
To help you. Banks to the goods
Consumer
market.
hold, right? So banks have paper suppliers, they have IT suppliers, they
Yes.
have
Yes.
people like me that supply them with
Somebody
cabling,
please put that arrow for us.
With what?
cabling, cable management systems, a lot of infrastructure.
There's an arrow here.
But they do buy from Pick and Pay also. Platters for the meetings.
Net banks so big they produce their own places.
no, we buy from different
Yes.
trading places.
And here, and from the goods market to the bank also.
Right.
Actually, banks are connected to everything.
Banks are connected to everyone. That's what I want to
Because
see.
It's money.
Everyone does it, you know.
Everything goes, money goes.
So I actually want to see an arrow from the bank connecting everyone, because there is no way you can escape the bank.
Yeah.
That's why I said
They are
it's
milking
not an
everyone.
option,
It's not like the olden days where you could leave your money under
Yeah.
the mattress.
That's what is happening. Okay. It's got an arrow there to the factor markets. Okay, that's a good one.
So basically what we're saying is when something goes out, it has to come back in a certain way. Because I carry the two arrows and it all connects to one thing. So if money is going out in a formal loan, it comes back as something else.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like that one, the arrow that I had there, you see, it's from your, let me explain. You see, it's from here, then I go straight here, so I don't come back again here. From the field, the household, and then I go and buy off.
So basically what you're trying to tell us is that everything there is interconnected in either cash or equivalent.
For goods.
In either cash or goods. So everyone is connected to the other. Now, you will see here that there is no foreign sector. We are not talking about anything being exported or imported, right? So this is a closed economy. So this is what we would call a closed economy. An economy that doesn't trade with the outside world. An example of a country that is more like that. North Korea to some extent, although it's still
Like what?
No, but Cuba
That's
does.
closed.
Cuba. Yeah, they are very rare to find, because you still need something, from someone. You still need something from someone.
Is there such a country? I don't think so.
It's not
I've
there.
never heard of it.
But what will differ now is the degree of openness.
Yeah.
You know, it's the degree of openness. Others are more open, others are more closed. Okay. I just want to take you back to the banks because they're an interesting sector. You know, what is the role of the banks in the economy, basically?
Milk us.
He says to milk us. What's the role of the banks?
Having safe transactions,
Controlling financial transactions, yeah.
keeping your money safe.
It's keeping your money safe. So you're saving there. And then what do they do with your money when you save it?
They go and invest it somewhere.
They make money.
Make money.
You go in and put in your 1,000 rand. What do they do with that 1,000 rand?
Invest it somewhere to make more money out of it, or they loan it to somebody else who's coming to loan money from them.
They
And
loan
then
it to
they
someone.
earn interest on that money.
Then they add interest. Yeah.
So would you say that the role of the bank is to facilitate the movement of money for savings, investments, transactions?
Loan.
So there is a link there between those who've got surplus funds and those who
Don't have.
are in deficit.
Yeah.
So those who have surplus funds, they will come and save.
Yeah.
They will come and invest. Those who are in deficit will come and
Borrow.
borrow. So that is their role. So basically everyone here will be connected to the banks because someone somewhere is saving. You save, you also take a loan somewhere. Okay. But we all know again that South Africa doesn't have oil. So where does it get it from?
Outside.
From outside. Okay. Where shall we put that one? Somewhere.
Data.
And call it the foreign sector. Okay. And call it the foreign sector. Can I have some arrows for the foreign sector?
To the bank or anywhere.
Foreign sector to firms.
How are we connected?
And consumer.
And government.
Yeah.
Not directly, eh?
Not directly. Yes.
Consumers not directly to foreign.
You will not go and buy a bag in the US. You will not go and buy a liter of oil in Saudi Arabia. So,
If you did online transactions, you could buy directly.
well,
but-
yeah,
yeah.
you know.
But technically, it's not. They've gone through firms or government-controlled entities and then distributed amongst the consumers and secondary users and distributors, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So can we have that as an arrow to show how it's connected to the rest of the economy?
I think everything first goes to the
The
arrow will go
government.
to the government.
Yeah.
And the government's various institutions like SARS, immigration.
Okay. Look at it in terms of the goods and the money part.
It's not
How will the
controlled by
goods flow?
government,
How will the goods flow here?
The goods will flow to the consumers.
Okay.
In that,
We-
and that
we-
fuel
okay.
is made from oil, isn't it?
Look at clothing. Most of it these days is coming from
By
China.
boat, by
China.
shipping.
China, right? So how does it end into the local market? How does it get to the local
we
market?
ship
Goes
it.
to-
No, but it's the customs or government
Yeah,
regulates the
government.
import charges and duties. They don't
Yes.
regulate the actual product. So the product
Yes.
would go from export to firm, firm to retailer or distributor, from distributor to consumer. Government would get, or firm would pay money to the company from overseas or wherever, China. China would, or the company in South Africa would pay customs and duties to government.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone with a different view? Okay. So that's how we are connected to the foreign sector. Okay. I'm not going to draw a lot of arrows because that's quite a lot. So I'll just simplify it and just have 2 arrows here and say if it is coming out of South Africa, then these are exports. And then if it is going in, these are
Imports.
imports. Okay.
It would be the same lines to firms, eh?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So basically, this is how everyone is connected to, to the other. So this is the economy that we talk about. The connections, interconnectedness. So when one variable changes, so if government spending increases, it will affect everyone because we are all connected, right? If there are strikes and these guys decide to withhold their labor, we are all connected here, so we'll all pick up a problem. If the banks close, he says even worse. And if this guy closes,
No, then
Where's
you're
that?
not-
Finish.
Western
You've got
banks.
craziness going.
what happens if this guy, if this guy is not there? Then you've got
Chaos.
you've got Somalia,
Yeah.
Then you've got Somalia, and it is strange in that I think that's an issue that was addressed by Thabo Mbeki in his recent lecture to UNISA, that we as Africans are not telling our stories. Most of us, we didn't know what happens if there is no central government in an economy until we saw the movie from Hollywood, Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is a story from Hollywood about
Somalia.
what happens if there is no central government. Of course, it's been commercialized. But what is happening? We have an African story being told from Hollywood. Who can tell us what happened there in the Black Hawk Down movie?
Is it the one about Somalia.
Yes, that's the one.
I think if I remember, a couple of soldiers, America sent their soldiers to Somalia. I can't really remember, but what I know is America lost about two, I think, one helicopters with some of the soldiers who died. But I think, I'm just speaking if I can recall, there was nothing. I think the issue there was about oil, if I'm correct, if I can remember properly. I'm not sure.
What happened was, I think from 1990 there was no government in Somalia, right? Then there was a drought, a very big drought. People were starving. Then you had these international organizations trying to feed people. Now, because there was no central government, you had legal militias controlling their own territory. I have my own militia in Da Vinci. I control all this area. You pay taxes to me, everything. There is no central government. Now, these militias now were now becoming a problem to the food relief efforts. So they would go in, find an operation in progress, grab everything, or leave just a few. Do what they want. So that's when now America thought of intervening to say, now the whole relief operation now is not serving its purpose. You see. So now in the course of intervening, the idea now was to capture the warlord, Mohammed Farah did. Okay, and then take him for prosecution. But in the course of that operation, then that's when one of their helicopters was gunned down. You see. So we focus on the other issue, but that's a story being told of what happens if there is no central government. It's each man for himself. And even up to now, that's where you find ships are being pirates. You know, pirates. They just capture you, and these guys, they demand
Random.
$100 million US ransom. You know. So they're disturbing commercial activity there now, because that is the shortest route. But now people are afraid of using that route, you know, because it's going to cost you more. Okay. Now, when this guy is spending in the economy, right, the spending, the generation of revenue, and the borrowing is what is called fiscal policy.
Say that again.
The spending by this guy, the revenue generation, and the borrowings of this guy is fiscal policy. Now, these guys are being controlled by the central bank, jail markers, right? So we are talking about money supply, which he raised, raising of interest rates, being in charge of all that. That is monetary policy. Okay. Now, when we look at these guys, the firms, and apply economics in trying to understand their behavior, how are they behaving this way in an economy? What influences their pricing decisions? What influences their demands? What influences their production, right? This is called microeconomics. What is microeconomics? We are breaking this whole big picture, analyzing small components of the economy, trying to understand what makes it work. That is microeconomics. But when we look at the bigger picture, everything, that is macro. When we look at this part, okay, why are we exporting so much? Why are we importing this? What influences that? We are talking about the balance of payments. BOP, not Brothers of Peace. Not Brothers of Peace. So when we look at the households, you know, and we are saying to ourselves, what influences the behavior? What makes you buy a BlackBerry than Oh, by the way, BlackBerry is going down, eh?
Yeah.
I actually have an article about it. Let's discuss it after tea. Shall we take 15?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Let's look after it, and that's a little bit of microeconomics. What makes you, what phone would you buy if you were to buy a new phone today? iPhone. Samsung. What is the problem with BlackBerry?
But I also read that apparently now Samsung and is it Apple, they're also going to have BBM.
Yeah, they say it's
Um,
coming.
Yes.
They
I
say
mean,
it's
I
coming.
think there was one of the huge, the one thing that BlackBerry had for themselves was BBM, but then WhatsApp came, but then you still
Totally
had
changed
that,
it.
yeah, and then I think people almost didn't see much reason to.
But BlackBerry also had the because if you look at smartphones, when they started producing smartphones, I think it was one of the, if not the first, one of the first products that came into the market, and they relaxed because there wasn't much competition. And when Apple produced the iPhone, it took them by surprise, you know.
They actually didn't follow
And they
the S
left them-
curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we say we'll be back at what time? 10:35.